This conference will now be recorded.
Well, there's a couple more people coming on, I see.
Full house today.
I'm going to see if I can get my computer camera to work, but I don't think it will. No, it's not going to.
Lynn.
Oh, it
No,
was.
yeah, no,
Oh, you're on your
my
phone.
phone camera is working, but I was going to try to do the computer again, which it just never likes that camera.
Mr. Stephen Anderson, are you on the phone?
I thought I saw him. Steven?
Yeah, I'm here.
I thought so. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we got everybody in, Mr.
All
Anderson.
right. Okay, we can call the meeting to order of the Jurupa Area Recreation and Park District, October 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Let me see. I think we want to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. DeGuid.
Sure. I got one here for us.
Oh, great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nice job, everyone. Now get out there and
Was that one of your baby
Get harder
pictures?
and harder, guys. I'm sorry.
Was that one of your
You
baby
want us to get out there and do.
Okay. We did have a closed session meeting this evening, and I do have some, one important item to report. We were in discussion with the annual contract for Mr. DeGuid, and we did two things. One is we're changing the contract dates to coincide with our fiscal years rather than having to discuss his compensation program and contract in November, and then we start our fiscal year in July. It seems to be more prudent to get his contract in line with the date of our fiscal year. So we will be looking at a new contract date for Mr. DeGuid. And secondly, we've authorized a $6,000 stipend / bonus to be paid to Mr. DeGuid at this time in lieu of discussions on a salary increase. We will do that as we start approaching the fiscal year 21-22 budget in May. So anyways, I understand it's got to be called a stipends and not a bonus. So that's what we are extending Mr. DeGuid for his fine service over the past year, a $6,000 bonus. That's all the reportable items I have. So let me go on now. I guess we're roll call.
Yes, Stephen Anderson,
Here.
Ronald Anderson,
Here.
Brenda Gunder,
Here.
Kim Gerald Johnson,
Here.
Ross Leisha.
Here.
Thank you.
Presentations and recognitions. I think Lennar will be talking on their own agenda item, correct?
Correct. We have no presentations, but we do have a public comment, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you.
If Ms. Voges would read that.
Okay, I did receive an email to be read tonight at the meeting. It is from Laura Bakewell, and it states, "Good evening, JARPD board members. Thank you for the beautiful parks popping up in our community. My favorite is Horseshoe Lake with the rustic and equestrian feel. The Jurupa Valley Pro Rodeo Committee would like to ask JARPD to replace the arena and watering system at the Rick Thompson Arena. The arena is close to 50 years old. The dirt in the arena is in desperate shape. The watering system is in disrepair. The lighting in the arena is out of date and needs to be upgraded. The entire arena area could use an update. Our event has tried to raise funds for rejuvenating the arena. We are unsuccessful. The equestrian community has not supported the arena for a while. We believe the arena is bypassed by horse clubs and individuals due to the lack of upkeep. Let's say JARPD put funding into the upgrades and upkeep of the area. We are sure the equestrians would come and support their local arena. The community shouldn't be asked or expected to host the events out of our city. We watch the new parks go in and know the funding is coming from developers. Please consider there is a need to spend funds on an upgrade to the Rick Thompson Arena. We know that JARPD is capable of getting the job done. Please build on our dream for a place to play the sports of rodeo, barrel racing, gymkhana, horse exercising, and community events. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your dedication to our community. Looking forward to a new and better Rick Thompson Arena. Sincerely, Laura Bakewell and the Jurupa Valley Pro Rodeo Committee.
Thank you, Laura. Any other comments?
That's the only one I received.
Hearing none, I'll move on to the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I will move to approve the consent calendar.
Have a motion, have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussions? Hearing none, Mr. or Miss Bogus, will you have the roll call, please?
Yes, Ronald Anderson,
Yes.
Stephen Anderson,
Yes.
Brenda Gunder,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson,
Aye.
Ross Leja.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5.1. This is our annual 5-year.
If I may, could I
Yeah.
request that we move item 5.2 to the front of the agenda, being that we have members of the public on the call for that as well?
By all means. So with that, I'll call for agenda item 5.2. This is a workshop regarding the open space associated with the Shadow Rock development over off of Sierra and Armstrong. So Mr. DeGuid, you want to make any comments before we start?
Yeah, I'll be brief on it, but this is a discussion we've had at the board level and committee level now for going on 2 years, I think, in regards to approximately a 30-acre open space adjacent to the park, the large park at Shadow Rock. There was some concerns raised from the board members because of the rock climbing that has historically taken place at the old the shear wall there from the quarry. We were approached by Lennar on these comments, and they brought in some members from the Access Fund and the SoCal Climbing Coalition. I think at this point, we're going to turn it over to Jeff Smith from Lennar, if that's okay. I think he has a brief presentation he'd like to give, and that he did send me, so I'm going to share that. And Jeff, just kind of nod when you want me to change. And
okay. Just look out for my wink. That'll be my signal. So, good evening, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Jeff Smith. I'm with Lennar Homes, and we're pleased to be here and pleased to make a presentation to the board. And good evening, members of the board. I'm joined here tonight with Brian King from Lennar. He's our project manager. And also 2 members of the climbing community. First one is Kenji Harutunian from the Access Fund. I'll let him describe the Access Fund maybe a little bit later. And then Matt Hewlett from the Southern California Climbers Coalition. Both have been involved with previous meetings and are familiar with the site and familiar with the activities at the local climbing activities there at what is known as the Riverside Quarry to rock climbers. So I do have a short presentation, and we'll kind of go through it relatively quickly here, and then we can open it up for questions. And feel free to interrupt if you have some questions along the way. So this is Lennar's newest community, Jurupa Valley. I think that's pretty well known. Wait a second, Colby. I didn't wink.
Oh,
There might be
sorry.
some 432 homes. There's a 5-acre park, which the board has already approved the concepts for the park and trails and the pocket parks. And the key point here is that one thing that Lennar loves to do for our larger size communities, such as this one, is to theme the community. Something that's relatable to the surrounding area or natural features, that sort of thing. So here at Shadow Rock, because of the quarry, because some of the views, I'm sorry, did someone ask a question? No, okay. Because some of the views, this site is themed for outdoor adventure. And that's kind of how we've themed our trails, our parks. And it's really inspired by the Riverside Quarry, is what it's known in the rock climbing community. So, okay, wink, Colby. All right. Just to give everyone some orientation, this is the site plan. The 3 names there: exploration, adventure, and discovery. Even our neighborhoods are named after outdoor themes. Those 3 communities are 3 different product lines, so to speak, and it all makes up Shadow Rock. As you can see, the words there: quarry wall, which is kind of behind the park. It's a sheer cliff and a sheer wall that climbers have used for many, many years, and that's part of our proposal. So, okay, next. Here's just a brief description of some of the theming that we're doing at the park. Again, outdoor themed, climbing walls for the kids, some adventure, parkour courses in the park. So that's the type of theming that we're talking about here. But again, this has already been dealt with. Okay, but sorry, Colby, yeah. But the Riverside Quarry is something I'm going to turn over to Kenji, who's going to talk a little bit about the quarry and what it's about, and the interest that the Access Fund may have in this particular site. So Kenji, take it away.
Hey, thanks a lot, and thanks to the Board of Directors of Jurupa, the Area Recreation and Park District, for letting us have some time on this busy evening. The quarry, the Riverside Quarry, has been a resource for climbers for a few decades. I don't know when the first climbing routes were put in there, but it has become a really popular and very important resource for people in the area as sport climbing has become more and more popular, and the indoor climbing gyms have popped up all around Riverside, San Bernardino, LA, Orange County, and San Diego. So the Riverside Quarry is one of the closest places for climbers to access. And what I wanted to do briefly, and feel free to interrupt if you have a question, is just talk a little bit about the climbing community. Like, who are these people that climb up cliffs? Where do they come from? Are they dirt bags? Are they people with Mercedes-Benz and Teslas? And so the quick answer to that is most of the people using the quarry are people that are professionals that have jobs and that have the means to join a climbing gym, which is roughly $70 to $100 a month. And that's where they're learning about climbing. Climbing gyms often, they don't really attract climbers, they attract people that are interested in fitness and in this climbing activity, and then they become climbers. People like Alex Honnold and many other young famous climbers now actually started in the climbing gym and then became outdoor climbers later. So the quarry serves this purpose as a destination for folks that are interested in sport climbing in particular. So that's a specific discipline in climbing. And so the climbing community is made up of a lot of people with disposable income. They're not the climbers of the 60s and 70s, which were kind of famous for their rogue behavior. I serve on the board of the Access Fund, but I also work with Friends of Joshua Tree, which is a local climbing organization. And Friends of Joshua Tree has been around since 1991. And I've been able to see the face of climbing really change, and maybe some of you have seen this too, where now it's an Olympic sport. It would have been featured this year in Tokyo, except it didn't, they didn't happen. So it'll be featured next year in Tokyo for the first time as an Olympic competition sport. The makeup and the opening of the climbing gyms it has become pretty recently, within the past 5 to 10 years, in a big wave. So there have been climbing gyms for decades, but they haven't really gone anywhere. There haven't been new ones until about 8 years ago. For some reason, there was a great interest in opening climbing gyms and more investment available and higher safety standards, etc. So anyway, so that's kind of the makeup of the climbing community that I wanted to relay. If you go to these gyms, you'll see they're younger people. They're much more diverse than you would see out at the Old Crags or up at a peak in the Sierra, for example. The climbing community also loves to give back, and they love the experience of climbing, and they love to kind of help take care of the places where they climb. They really love this idea of an open and natural place. And so even though we climb up the rocks and they might seem a little odd, it is a human natural thing to do, and we love being immersed in nature. So having events that help people volunteer to maintain trails or to clean up, to do chalk cleanups or trash pickups, which have happened at the quarry already several times. It's part of the culture of the climbing community. It's kind of couched under this term stewardship, and stewarding the land, stewarding our public lands in Joshua Tree and hopefully in Jurupa Valley would be something that the climbing community would jump at the chance to do. So the Southern California Climbers Coalition is a group that facilitates these meetings and works with other local climbing organizations like Friends of Joshua Tree, the Allied Climbers of San Diego, and the Access Fund, and throughout the country to learn what the best practices are and to bring some of these solutions to bear in our region. So with that, I thought I could turn it over to Matt. Matt's a very long time climber at the quarry. He's the founder of the Southern California Climbers Coalition, and he talk a little bit more specifically about what's going on there at the quarry and more about the climbing community.
Thanks, Kenji.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Actually, I was just curious, how many climbers a year do you think this quarry gets?
It's varied a lot since its inception. The easiest way to kind of think about it is a busy Saturday. Everybody's off of work if the weather's nice. One of the unique things about Shadow Rock is kind of in its name. It's in the shade all morning long. So even on a warm summer day, with its proximity to the 60 freeway and no hike, you can get out there, you can get some climbing in before the sun hits the wall and get back home and have a full day. When it's cooler, there have been as many as 20 to 30 vehicles parked on the street in front of the quarry, meaning there could be 20 to 60 people, climbing at a time. So it really varies seasonally. With the construction and everything that's happened in the last, COVID, it's been, obviously nobody's going out there right now, but in its busy times, I would estimate up to 60, maybe 70 people plus at one moment out there.
Okay.
And to add a little history, after the quarry was decommissioned in the 30s, I think the first routes climbing-wise went up in the 1950s, but then it was used consistently as a training location in the 1970s and 80s for people that were putting up very unique and difficult routes in Yosemite Valley. This is where they came to practice their skills and work on things to get ready for bigger walls. We go back one. Was that one slide? Yeah. So one back in the middle. Climbing is a sport. For perspective, as Kenji was talking about the climbing gyms and the amount of people coming into the sport, I've been in the climbing gym industry and the outdoor climbing industry for 22 years, give or take now. The gym I started working at when I was fresh out of high school was probably built for about $20,000, give or take. And the gym I currently work with was built for about $5 million. That's a very big difference in what the climbing gyms look like and what it takes. And so a gym that used to have 100 members and would consider that doing very well now has 1,000 members. And that's the definition of a successful climbing gym. So the sport is absolutely growing. And as Kenji said, it's going to be in the Olympics. It should have been in the Olympics. I remember when there were 2 gyms in LA County, 3 gyms in San Diego, and 3 gyms in Orange County. And now there's 10 in Orange County, 10 in LA County, and more than that in San Diego County. So there are climbers all over the place. And as Kenji said, there's money to burn. We want to get out and explore and do things. I'm also going to say that the kid featured in the picture right there is Jeff's son. Is that a regional or a national comp?
That was a regional competition in San Diego. Yep.
So that's Jeff's son at an actual competition. And then let's go forward one more. So a couple, I like to highlight people I know. The girl on the right, that's my wife. But an interesting one, the picture with the girl pointing with the finger and the boy in the blue hat. That kid is a national champion on multiple disciplines and an overall national champion, not just for his age group, but for multiple age groups. So for the young climbers and the people getting into the sport and learning at all these climbing gyms, the quarry has definitely become a local place to go and learn and to get outside and to share the outdoors with other climbers and explore what it's all about. Let's go forward one more. Let's see, I don't remember what we have next. As Kenji also kind of touched on, this is all stewardship projects. We've done multiple cleanups there. The quarry really became a developed sport climbing area starting about 20 years ago, and then kind of really became a substantial place maybe 12 years ago. And before the climbers were going out there, it was definitely a kind of a weird place, and a lot of weird things happened there. It was a consistent trash dump for many, many, many years. And with the climbers consistently being there and actually just having a presence there, a lot of those suspect behaviors started to disappear. And it was the climbers that we all got together, cleaned out hundreds of tires, old boats. I remember a Lincoln Navigator once was driven off the cliff that was ghost-ridden. Not the best memory in history for the area, but we were the ones that also went and cleaned up after it. So the climbers will continue to be a part of that and to be a part of the community. That's definitely one of our goals. Which kind of segues back to Jeff, I believe.
Yes, I know we kind of touched on a lot there, but I think we can open it up for any questions or any comments. Sorry. Working at home. Are there any questions from the board that we can answer?
What kind of maintenance is required to keep that facility safe and I guess climbable? There has to be some erosion and wear over time that needs to be addressed, I would think. I know nothing about climbing, but
Yeah, that's
the question. Matt or Kenji can answer this.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that, Matt, and maybe I'll add something. But with the Access Fund, we're a national organization, and we have 3 conservation teams that are paid staff that go around in different regions and work on maintenance. And the things they do, they typically do trail maintenance so that the access to and from a particular crag is safe and smooth and not rickety or dangerous for people to hike. So they're actually creating trails for hikers and birders as well as climbers. But also the pads at the base, we call it the pad, but it's at the base of a particular climb. There's a route that goes vertically. Think of it as a trail that goes up the side of the cliff. There's a staging area at the base. So making sure that those are also safe and that they are clear of any, for example, some kind of boulder that would catch a rope and create a hang-up spot, or a dangerous landing, or an ankle spraining stone that might be there. They try to level all that out. So that's typically what the conservation teams do. Other maintenance would be trash cleanup, also chalk cleanup. So in bouldering areas, which there's not too much bouldering, but there is some there at the quarry, cleaning up the chalk occasionally helps keep it less visually obvious that there's people that climb there. Climbers use gymnastic chalk on their hands to keep their hands dry for being able to have good grip contact strength.
I thought that there was some sort of maintenance that had to occur on the rock face itself to like knock off things that have gotten loose and things like that.
Yeah, that's where the coalition would work with, either ourselves or with other climbers that are consistently climbing at the quarry to recognize areas that may be at risk for rock fall or hardware that needs to be replaced and safety equipment, bolts in the wall, those sorts of things. The standards of bolts have changed a lot in the last 20 years. So the bolts that are being placed today, the safety equipment, they last 30 years longer than they used to, which means they last for 50 plus years. So that's where we as the coalition would come in and have an open forum for anybody to bring up any safety risks, and we could go out there and evaluate and take the safe steps to replace any hardware or fix anything like that.
And didn't we have a discussion that we would enter into some sort of agreement with your organization to do that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
The other question I had one more question, is I'm concerned at what goes on at the top, not so much about what goes on at the top with the climbers, but with anybody else who might take a back trail and come up that direction. And I'm just curious about, since you've been at the top, what is your opinion? Is it clear that you're coming upon a cliff? If you were to walk near it, is it unclear and you're suddenly at the edge of a cliff? Or how do you think about the safety at the top?
I would describe
and
it
I'm
as,
not worried so much about the climbers as just owning the open space. Sorry.
I would say it's very clear, in a way that could be similar to a parking area at Zion National Park that doesn't have a railing. You know where the cliff is. You don't go to the edge if you're not comfortable being there.
Okay.
There's kind of some edges before the edge, actually, right?
Yeah, there's multiple. In some spots, there's kind of a couple tear downs where there's a layer down, so you can kind of look over the edge. On a whole, I've definitely walked the entire top of the cliff wall, and I can't think of a single spot that feels easy to get to that feels like you might slip off. If someone's gonna go to the edge, there's nothing we can do to stop them, of course, but there's no easy spots where you're just standing there casually. Oh, like I'm on the trail and this is where I'm supposed to be, and then the next step you're off. I didn't recognize any moments like that.
Okay. So if I'm on this trail that you can see here and I decide to walk over towards the cliff edge, it's really, really clear.
Extremely.
Okay.
Ms. Johnson, I can tell you from personal experience, I have been up there on that trail, and yeah, you can tell.
Okay. Okay.
I won't go anywhere near that personally, but
It's not like the movie where somebody's running through the forest and all of a sudden there's a 1,000-foot drop in front of them. It's very obvious. And Matt, could you explain the concept of sport climbing? We're novice here by all means.
Certainly.
Is with ropes, correct?
Yes. Let's go back a couple slides. Let me see.
Yeah, let me pull that one back up. I just tried to pull up some pictures of the
cliff itself. Let's see. So this is, we can pause, go forward one. So even though this is an indoor gym, the concept is 100% the same here. This is what is called top roping. So I'm going to use my hands on the computer screen like you can see me. If you look at, I don't know which one of your kids that are because they're twins.
Yes.
Going up. That's a rope.
Wesley. It's Wesley.
Wesley is climbing up the wall. That rope that the mouse is moving up on is already anchored at the top of the wall. So that's top roping. And in climbing terms and safety, that is the safest form of climbing, because if you fall at all, that rope is above you. You fall only a couple of inches, maybe. Let's go back one more to the other one that has Valerie on the cover. This is what's really commonly done at the Riverside Quarry to get that top rope set up. Now the rope from her is actually trailing down, meaning that there's another person on the ground at the other end of the rope feeding rope out as she climbs along. But along the way, there are permanent bolts placed in the wall by climbers such as myself and other people. And then she will bring little clips to clip that rope in. So if she falls, she only falls the distance of that last clip. So that's what we were talking about, replacing bolts in hardware and safety things like that. That's what we were referring to. So that's the true definition of sport climbing.
And this would be a wall that typically people would free climb. Is that correct?
Terminology wise, this is all free climbing. Free climbing is using your hands and your feet to get up the wall, not using ropes and hardware and gear to literally aid your ascent. In the terms of Alex Honnold climbing El Cap without a rope, that's free soloing. No, this is not a common area for that. It's, you know, just based on the type of rock and the type, you know, where it is. It's a lot of people like to go free soloing because it's a beautiful place to go climb and feel completely alone and lost in nature. And with the view of the 60 freeway, that's a little diminished.
Also, this is in contrast, sport climbing is in contrast to trad climbing, which is what's practiced in Joshua Tree a lot, where you're placing your own protection as you go up the rock, typically in a crack or some weakness. So there aren't as many bolts lined up on a wall in Joshua Tree as you'll see at the Riverside Quarry, where they're relatively closely spaced, and it's a much safer climbing experience to lead in a sport climbing way than in the trad style.
Prior to Lennar taking title to this property for the development, who actually held the title to this, let's say 25, 30 years ago when you were doing a lot of this climbing?
Jeff, do you remember the previous owner?
You know, it's passed through a few developers. I don't know the exact name of, I don't know how far back.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, was there any significant blowback about using this for your climbing in the past? Did anybody have issues with safety or insurance or anything like that?
Prior to Lennar owning it, I know that I've experienced two property owners that I or a friend have had at least conversations with. And in both cases, the conversation was, don't drive on there to discourage dumping. If people see cars up at, you know, parked along the base of the cliff, they think they're out there dumping trash, and so other people go up there and dump trash. And so for the last 15, 18 years, the climbers have respected that and parked along the street and walked the 200 yards in to get to the cliff. Mm-hmm. In terms of, you know, the liability question and insurance questions, no, we're a self-policing group that will take care of our own.
On that note, there's also some documentation in the report that I think Jeff provided from the Access Fund that shows some different scenarios of ownership and management of climbing areas in California and other states. Yeah, anyway, so there's some documentation there.
Yeah, and I think you all know, I mean, we feel that the district is the best choice as an owner of this facility. The district, it has the ability to raise funds through the property, through the CFD property tax. The district, I believe Colby was interested in a regional wide wilderness park. There's multi-uses that could go on at the site, hikers, mountain bikers, that sort of thing. So we just feel like the district is a natural fit for this property. And whether we need a site agreement or whatever, that's fine. But that's why we're really here today, is to see if that could be possible.
Do we have a aerial that shows, that has the boundaries superimposed on it, so I would know what I'm getting?
Let me get back to that one. This is the best we can come up with. Looking at the line here, is the border of the open space. And the wall is right in here, and right here is this area.
Okay.
So trying to get a perfect overlay just wasn't something in this short time frame we were able to truly come up with. I don't think the official track map has recorded yet, correct, Brian?
No. So part of this, I mean, in the future, the land to the east, the rest of that wilderness area, is a big master plan that someday will develop with residential development. But there will be a lot of open space areas directly adjacent to the site. So if JRPD wishes, they'll be able to add more hiking and mountain bike trails and everything like that directly adjacent to this.
Colby,
Are you involved in that one at all? Is Lennar involved in that one?
Not at this point.
Not yet. Maybe
Not
one
at this
day.
point.
Well, because I want to make sure that you understand that us taking this 30 acres has absolutely nothing to do and makes no commitment to anything else.
Correct.
Oh, yeah,
Correct.
of course.
Understand.
And we don't have control of the situation either. So
Right.
yeah.
Colby, can you show the picture that shows the park boundary? It was one that had a red line and showed
Oh, yeah. And that's, I'm going to kind of caveat that's
there
not.
you go, that one. So
That's not the scale, but that's generally where the park boundary would be in relationship.
okay, so my question though is the land between the red line and the cliff face, that's just considered open space and part of what we're talking about. There's no future plans for that patch of land, or
At this point, it's proposed to leave it natural.
And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, that area there was raised probably 15 or 20 feet, correct?
Yeah, I don't recall how far, but it has been raised.
Yeah, it was significantly.
Colby, jog my memory a bit. Do we have planned parking within that park facility that climbers could use rather than parking out on the road as they do now?
It would be part of our park design here, which I don't have available.
But we actually expanded that parking lot in anticipation of this. From what was originally proposed, when we presented it to you, the park concepts for approval, it had the expanded parking lot on it.
Okay, thank you. I thought we had discussed it briefly.
Yeah.
There is a fence. I guess my question is, you are placing like that red line there. There's going to be a fence all along there, and is there an access point at some point where they walk into the cliff face? We're not just leaving that open, correct?
Well, there's elevation difference there, and there's also a concrete drainage gutter there. It's not just like an easy place to walk through.
So how would they get from the park and the parking lot to the cliff face?
We were going to put an access point in there from the parking lot. I don't recall exactly where it's located at.
Yeah,
So I don't have
the final construction drawings yet for the park?
we're close. Week or two out.
That's something that we could address very easily.
Yeah.
Okay. But they could park along the street also if there was a big event at the park that day and they're going to be allowed to park on that street. There's going to be parking on that street.
I'm not sure if the city is going to allow parking on that street or not.
I think what we decided, Brian, was it would be permitted for parking at this point.
At this point, it
One
probably.
lane.
But in the future, when the Rio Vista property at the end of 20th is developed, I don't know if they'll allow parking at that point.
As far as access to go across that culvert and stuff, could we conceivably put in a bridge similar to the one we just put in at Horseshoe Lake?
No, it's nowhere near the size of that culvert. This is only about a 4 foot.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 foot or something like that.
Yeah.
But obviously something's going to be put there to allow people to walk.
Still put a bridge across it.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to find my recollection is we're going to do an access point near the basin there on the left. I think there was some logical area there, but yeah, we'll have to address that at the final engineering stage.
Well, as a climbing organization, what would be your ideal or preference from the Parks District? What would you like to see us do? Or
I'd like to hear you guys say, yes, we'll take ownership of the land and allow us to climb there.
I
That's the
have
short.
one
has
question.
anybody
Staff
heard
report.
has anybody heard the reports of any legal ramifications for the guy that took the header off of there 6-8 months ago?
We owned the property, and I don't know about Jeff. I haven't heard anything whatsoever.
All right.
No.
So if we could go back to that picture, the photograph that showed the cliff and that like spot that you said was right, not the one from up above.
Shows the top of the cliff.
It shows the top of the cliff. Oh, it's the next one down, that one. Okay, so that big white spot there and then the trails leading to it, are those off-road trails?
Yes and
They're
no.
pretty rough trails.
They're
So-
what?
They're very rough. To drive up there is not easy.
Yeah.
They were probably at some point, but they've eroded to they're okay hiking trails now. And even in that sense, there's not a great access to the top.
Yeah, when I was up there, I was actually four-wheeling, but it's been some years. I have driven on those trails. It's a lot of fun, actually. The rougher, the better.
I was up there on Sunday morning with my mountain bike, and I came up through this way right here. It was a challenge because of the ruts. A modified Jeep could make it. A stock off the factory floor Jeep could not make it. Just from the ruts and stuff. The problems that are happening up there is the side by sides that are so popular now and the motorcycles. And as I put in the staff report, I think back here on this road, which is off this screen, there was a gate at one point that I think need to be reinstalled.
I do have another question here. Reading the staff report, it specifically said in here that there has been some base jumping from that location, and the staff report says that considering the development that it would no longer be considered a viable location. However, looking at that spot where that red line is, it would seem that the park would be an attractive landing zone if someone were to do that. How are you going to prevent things like that?
Well, it's got 100-foot light poles in it will be the one thing that's going to deter them, we think. And really,
The
when they
backstops.
what do you say, Brian?
A lot of things they did.
So when we were looking at the video before, they were jumping from right in here, correct, Brian?
I believe so. They try to go to about the highest point.
It's
right?
about the highest point, but they were landing way over what is now Sierra.
Okay, well, not being a base, I have to ask these questions because
No, I completely
You're not a
understand.
base jumper, Ross?
no.
I'm going to say I'm not a base jumper. I have worked with quite a few and know quite a few. Adding vertical obstacles such as trees, fencing, light poles, anything else is a big deterrent to jumping. A second very large one, which is why the quarry has been popular in the past, is it was very slim that you would get caught.
Well, I hear things in the news where people jump off the Empire State Building, and it seems like there'd be a lot of obstacles on the way down from that. That's why I was asking.
There are people that do jump.
There are extreme crazies out there, right? So,
yeah.
I think
And
that
again, I can't.
I think the two questions that I would have, or the two concerns that I would have at this point, really have very little to do with the climbing. One would be whether any of those trails up at the top are currently a severe problematic erosion situation that needs to be rectified before we would take ownership of the property, be that those bale things that you put across them or whatever. And also, wouldn't there need, Colby, to be some signage down below as you're walking up to the cliff that indicates, enter this area at your own risk? Climb
Yeah,
at your
I think those are both two things that we could mitigate fairly easily. Obviously, signage is pretty easy. We could evaluate and work with the developer here on on the trail if anything needed to be improved. But I think we need to be somewhat mindful of doing too much improvement, because then you make it too easy for vehicles to get back up there.
Oh, and I'm not talking about improving it to a level of making it easier to use. I'm just talking about, you know how you put those, what they call straw wattles,
Oh, yes.
Yes.
and putting things like that just to, so that we don't have a severe erosion problem in the future. That would be all I'm talking about, is something like straw wattles or something, not improvement per se, but just stuff that kind of limits the water from making too big of an erosion problem. I thought back in the day when this was first discussed about being developed, I mean, part of the reason we don't take development up to the cliff face is because rocks fall off of it. So isn't there this open space area considered a rock fall zone, potential rock fall zone?
True. I mean,
Well,
our talks were, like you said about the signage, to put signage up warning people, hey, this is an inherently dangerous area, enter at your own risk. You know, I don't think we're aware of any rock fall at this point, you know, in recent times, and maybe the climber, maybe Matt can respond to that also if there is a danger there. But yeah, we didn't want to really develop that bottom part because we don't want the regular public just to be walking around there. We don't want to make it an attractive nuisance.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
How
right.
much of the 30-acre open space is on top of that ledge? How-
A lot, actually.
Hmm.
Here's the ledge right up in here. So I would say maybe 40%.
Okay,
So when we talk about 30 acres, we're not talking about 30 acres on top of the cliff face. We're talking about from the road over.
Right in here. And one thing to be clear is this green area here isn't all park. This was an early conceptual where there was more landscaping, correct, Brian?
No, it just signifies either park or open space.
Okay.
okay.
I believe in that. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't remember when this exhibit was actually.
You can kind of make out a trail right in here. If we jump back to this picture, let's see this one, it would be the same area right in here. So it's basically, you can't tell too well from this picture, but this is a ridge right here. So it's basically the ridge line. And then it goes down the other side, but it's a more of a hill, not a drop off like this would be.
What about closer to the base? Do we have a trail going along that base area? Or how far out from the base?
It's really right in here. When I was up there, and I spent a
At the
good
base,
half hour, 45
Oh, it's
minutes.
up above, it's not on the base.
So
at the
yeah,
base.
there's climber access trails basically along the cliff face itself, and there are kind of a couple main primary areas that climbers use to access the actual cliff face itself. The main trail that goes kind of up the middle, I would say, is there's the 2 water trucks, and then it basically, yeah, up. This is entertaining. Go back to where you were, the two first water trucks, starting left, up a little bit, starting about there. That goes up kind of the slopey portion to access the main trail that runs consistently along the base of the wall.
Oh,
And then the other area, if you keep following along the cliff base, that trail gets you to about there and then ends. And then these other areas that are farther to the right of the wall, to the south, those have their own kind of shorter accesses. There's a very short amount of rock or small hill to get to the base. So they have a few small individual trails, all of, between 20 and 50 feet long, maybe.
is all that sloping rock there from the middle of the picture going down to the bottom left-hand corner, is that all still there, or is that gone after all of yours?
I believe that's still there. This is a fairly
Yeah.
recent. Colby just took this picture, I think, last week.
Oh, okay.
So this being a mining site at one time, a quarry, that's all like rock tailings and everything that when they're exploding the wall and everything like that, breaking the rock off, that's all spoils from that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Matt, when you get to the top, what do you do? Do you rappel down or do you walk down?
No, this is not an area where it's very common. What we would call top out, meaning you're climbing along, Oh, wait, am I on? Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah.
My camera's frozen for some reason.
You're good.
We
Okay.
can see you.
Everyone else is frozen. So they're climbing along. Topping out would mean you get to the very top of the route, whether it's tall, short, doesn't matter, and then you go over the top and then find a different trail to get back down. Given the nature of the top of this wall and how tall it already is, it's far more common to get to an anchor point which has more than one attachments directly to the wall. You'll run your rope through that and then just lower the way back down. And then as you lower down, you'll clean up any of your hardware, any of your gear, and then you'll pull your rope and you walk away. So climbers wanting access to the top would really only be for route maintenance and to get up to spots to maybe look at new route development, which there's not very much left, if anything. But it's about, for us to get to the top of the wall so that we can lower down into certain areas to fix certain things. That's really the only access reason for climbers to go to the top.
How many,
Yeah.
tell the rest of the board how many routes are on this cliff face?
In the half a mile-ish wide, there are 350 routes.
Wow.
So for
I think
route,
I was going to point out too, there's actually a guidebook for the Riverside Quarry, which was pictured on one of the slides. That is,
My hands.
oh, there it is. Yeah, Brian bought one. And that book is probably on Amazon, but it has a description of all the routes, pictures, route descriptions, what they call beta, which is information about the climb, how many anchors, that sort of thing. And climbers use that guidebook when they go out and climb. But it just speaks to how popular it is as a destination.
this is the second version of this book as well. So there was an early publication and then an updated version, 10 years later. And something else, once this project comes to fruition and the homes are open and everything, the park is done, there's obviously going to be a need to update the information going out to the climbers. So there are public forums. One's called mountainproject.com, which is online beta basically for climbers to access, to learn where they can go climbing and what it's like to climb there. But the book will probably be updated as well. And another unique opportunity for local businesses is we'll reach out to surrounding businesses, whether it's the taco shop right there or anybody else, and they can actually put ads or help promote local businesses within this guidebook, showing people what the climbs are here.
Can we stop calling it the Riverside Quarry?
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
We'll call it whatever you want.
That's a
You're
good
reading
question.
my mind, Kim.
That was a good one.
We're kind of sensitive. We don't like we don't like things in Jurupa Valley to be called Riverside since we're not Riverside.
A couple things I just kind of want to touch on with the board. I know you've read your agenda. This is covered under the Hazardous Activities Act of California. Essentially the same statutes that covers us for the skate park or the equestrian activities we allow in the parks cover rock climbing, by definition. And I have talked with Capri in regards to that. As long as we're not the ones that are actively installing and promoting these routes, we would not have liability if there were to be an injury when it comes to it. And we discussed some sort of an MOU agreement with the Access Fund and or the Climate Coalition for the maintenance, for education. I think even through the Access Fund, there's potential for signage and stuff along those lines as well. I think in our discussions with Matt and the different groups, the biggest thing was, hey, we had a crash or two available. They were ecstatic. They were not a group that is asking for a whole lot. The fact that there would be bathrooms in the park for when they were done, that was icing on the cake, really is what it came down to. Since Lennar has started their grading project here, through the different outreach programs they talked about, they have basically said this site was closed And I think for the most part, that's been very much honored by the climbing community. Brian could probably speak more to that, but I've driven by a number of times and I haven't seen anybody there yet. So it's been very respectful in that aspect.
Yeah, there's just been a random guy here or there. That's it. And he got kicked off of there. Yeah. They're cooperative when they do get pushed off.
Well, just to, oh.
Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, just to kick off the conversation, this is what I would have to say is I don't have a problem at this point with the climbing. I don't have a problem with us owning this particular piece of property. I would say that what I would want cleared up would be the agreement on any signage that is needed. I would like to be able to determine if we need some sort of fence along that edge between the park and the area below the cliff. I would like there to be some determination as to whether any of those like straw wattles for erosion would be needed. I would like an agreement on the gate that we were talking about at the bottom of that one trail, and the agreement with the climbing organization. And with those things in place, I would feel comfortable with the whole situation.
Kim, can I get just a clarity on that? When you said access gate, you just access point, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a gate, but it can be.
I'm talking about that trail at the very top.
So Jeff, Colby and I have
a gate down there
that Kim's probably aware of. There was a gate up on one of the trails up on the top that prevented right where the cursor's at there. The poster's still there, but the pipe gate's gone. As we discussed it, we'll put a gate back in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the gate I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got
And I would like to, I'm not saying we have to have a fence along the edge between the park and the open space, but I would like a better understanding of that edge to see if that would be needed or not.
Yep.
And then, like I said, the straw wattles for the erosion, if that's necessary, and then the agreement in place with the climbing organization. I mean, of course, us taking the land doesn't require the agreement from the climbing organization, an agreement with the climbing organization. That can come later with the understanding, of course, that without the agreement, we can't do climbing there. But that would be
earlier.
what I would want to see, to take the land and allow the climbing. That would
Gotcha.
be I don't know how my fellow board members feel, but
Well,
that's.
I think that was well said, Kim, and I just wanted to thank all parties that put on this presentation again tonight, that while we certainly are not prepared to make an actual decision tonight, it's certainly been very beneficial with some more conversation. And I, like Kim, cannot see any real negatives to it, particularly after the discussion with the legal ramifications and insurance that Colby has assured us of. So I would think some point in time, I don't know if it can be before the end of the year, but we should be able to make a definitive decision. What is your time frame? When do you need a determination, Brian?
You know, I think the only thing that really has a time frame is, you know, we have that maintenance CFD that you guys had in front of you last month. So I think part of that getting approved is you wanted to see what was happening with the balance of this land. And so otherwise, I don't think it's a real tight time frame.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't know.
That was my question as to kind of the timing of the CFD. Kim, would you like to see the agreements with Lennar then settled before we bring the CFD back to the board?
That probably makes the most sense.
It probably would be ideal, but I don't know if it would be absolutely necessary, but it would be ideal.
I mean, we have to officially acknowledge the acceptance of this entire piece of property before you don't do a CFD on a piece of property you don't own or plan on taking or haven't voted on taking. And I know there's been some discussion. Have we taken it? Have we not? Whatever we need to do.
Okay.
So Colby, don't we, on our maintenance CFDs, don't we normally establish the CFD and get a commitment from the district? Because we also have to disclose our taxes to our home buyers. We have a grand opening here in a couple of weeks. So I think we set that up, but then the actual acceptance of the property comes later. once conditions have been satisfied. So
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
I think what we would prefer is get the CFD form, get a commitment from the district that they will take it upon satisfaction of the conditions, like a MOU and the things that you've outlined can be part of that. I think that's how it goes, right? Is that right, Colby?
Yeah, that's how we've done it in the past. And I did talk with Mr. Owen, who was unfortunately not able to be here this evening. And I think one of the easiest ways would be to, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Would we take the development agreement, the construction acquisition agreement that Lennar obtained with the purchase of this property and add an amendment to that and add this piece of property to it with these stipulations that we're talking about now would be the most efficient way to address it.
Okay.
Does that sound
Good.
reasonable, Lynn?
Yep.
Lynn? Does that sound something
Yes.
doable in the not
Yep.
too distant future?
I would just like
Yeah.
to say the board has probably taken my position that I'm most interested in to include that top edge ought to be looked at, maybe some pictures of what is going to prevent somebody from walking off that edge and hitting the ground from that side, because there are trails behind it. And then secondly, I would like more definition when it comes in again. I want to know what you're going to allow on there and what you aren't. Apparently, we aren't going to allow off-road vehicles and motorcycles, but that remains to be seen. And pro signage. What are we going to be saying that would keep us as free as we possibly can from liability on this issue?
And I think that's where the Access Fund can be a great partner with us as well. That's one of the things they really look out for.
Okay.
And then through our other.
Oh, there we go. Did, Mr. Ron Anderson and I, of course, had also talked previously about this in the park planning committee meeting, but I want to make sure that Mr. Leisure, Mr. Stephen Anderson, and Ms. Brenda Gunder all feel they've gotten the information they need tonight.
Yeah, I think after hearing all the parties concerned, I feel much more comfortable with it. There's a lot of things that I wasn't knowing about, and I had some concerns, but I think my concerns have been addressed. I like the items that Ms. Johnson has brought up. I agree with Mr. Stephen Anderson on the signage. We need to make sure that we have proper signage in the proper locations. I'm not sure putting up a fence at the top of that, I think would take a lot away from it. I mean, there may be certain spots where we might want to be concerned with, but I don't necessarily agree with fencing off the entire top. I think that would just distract from the beauty of the property. So, but other than that, I mean, those are things that can be discussed once we establish this, correct?
Right. Did you realize the fence I was talking about was down below, not at the top?
Oh no, I thought the way you talked about it was on the top. I apologize.
No, it would be between the developed park at the bottom.
Okay.
And then the open area, dirt area leading to the cliff face. That's
okay. When you said cliff face, I just assumed it was the top half. So.
No, I was talking about at the bottom there and whether that was needed at all.
Okay.
That's the fence I was referring to.
But I think Stephen's concern was the top.
Concerned about that top area and somebody walking off of it. I know what I've heard tonight. But also, I think there ought to be some pictures of that as what we can do and what we can't do. There may be even some piping that we might want to put up, but that's, of course, up to the board. But I do think we ought to get a better definition of the top. And I'm sorry I misunderstood that.
Would the board feel comfortable, the items that I listed, going forward with the community facilities district item and sending the signage and the fencing and the erosion and the gate and the agreement with the climbing community and all of that back to the park planning committee to work out? Would that be the simplest way to do that?
I'm not the board. We'll let somebody else talk for that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think so.
Well, right now, I would say yes, Kim, that would be a great idea, but then again, I'm kind of tentative of what I'm going to be doing and another month from now as far as
I think the best port of action right now would be, I think I've got direction here of what needs to happen. The reality, we won't accept this until towards the end of the project, correct, Brian? We're a couple years away truly from accepting it. So it doesn't have to be completed, but this needs to be completed prior to our acceptance.
Okay. I didn't realize it's that far away.
Yeah.
And the CFD has to be formed sooner rather than later, as Brian was saying or Jeff was saying, because of their disclosure requirements to their potential home buyers.
And the reality is
that's why I thought it was necessary to try to address this relatively soon, and that's why I asked Lynn if it was doable from the CFD standpoint. So which is it? Do we have 2 years or do we have 2 months?
Well, I think the CFD has to be formed sooner rather than later. I think what we've heard tonight is general agreement of what needs to be done to make the board comfortable to accept it. We may be able to modify that construction and acquisition agreement in a fairly short time frame. And again, as Colby said, even if those agreements get done now, the acceptance of the property won't be for quite a while.
I agree, but the terms of the CFD and the areas that are covered by the CFD has to be done at the time that you finish the CFDs and they start advising their potential homeowners. Is that correct?
That's right. Which is, at this point we have included. We've looked at all the property to be included in the CFD at this point.
Okay.
So I think we're okay on there, but I think we'll need to look back at that, talk about that, see if any of the items that have been brought up tonight will impact that special tax.
Okay.
So I think that's something we need to look at rather quickly, Lynn, because Brian, I can tell sitting there, his worry is our resolution intention would come back at the November 12th meeting.
Okay.
I think we technically need that in place because your grand opening is that weekend, if I remember.
The 7th. The 7th is our grand opening. We can disclose an estimate, but shortly thereafter we'll have closings. And so if we could get something on the agenda for the 12th, I think that would be ideal. Colby?
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess the monkey's on your back, Lynn.
Yep. Do you see the tail?
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good information.
Thank you very much for your time.
Look forward to it coming to a successful project.
Thank you.
And I hope that the climbing community got maybe not the 100% of what you were hoping, the words you were hoping to hear, but I think you see where we're going and that it looks very positive.
Oh, yes, we're very happy.
Okay,
Very
good.
appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for the time.
You bet.
See y'all later.
Thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we can go back to 5.1.
Yes. Item 5.1 is our annual 5-year reportable fees report for fiscal year 2019-2020 in compliance with Government Code 66006. This is essentially our AB 1600 fees and what we've collected and what we spent this last fiscal year. And Ms. Gruber is available if you have any questions.
I only had one question, and it was regarding the Skyview Event Center and the AB 1600 fees that we are allocating to that project. was the 26% of the total price, was that our agreed to contribution from maybe 1,600 originally? 3.5 million?
Yes.
Okay.
What page is that on?
Okay, and I guess I have one other thing.
Well,
What
Page
is the-
12 of the report,
the
Okay, I
report.
or of the PDF, sorry. 5 of the report.
the
I
other
found
thing I had was these bond funds. Are those predicated on us getting some additional funds? I see some kind of a, I can't make out what it is. Some kind
Which,
of
are you
notation.
looking at page 10, Mr. Anderson?
Same
Um,
page,
looking at
just the
page-
next
I'm
project.
looking at page 12.
12.
So show bond funds at $220,000. What bonds are those?
Those would be coming from the CFDs that we have JCFAs with the school district.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or discussions?
Nope.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. But all speak at once.
Okay, I got it. I got it. I move the Board of Directors adopt resolution number 2020-42, approving the annual and 5-year reportable fees report for fiscal year 2019-2020 in compliance with Government Code Section 66006.
Do we have a motion? May I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Go ahead.
All right. Any other discussions or comments? Hearing none, Loretta, can you have the roll call, please? Loretta?
You're muted, Loretta.
We
You're
can't
talking,
hear.
you're not muted, but we can't hear you.
Can't hear
I'll do
me?
a roll call for you. Mr. Ross Leisure,
Yes.
Mrs. Kim Jarrell Johnson,
Aye.
Miss Brenda Gunder,
Yes.
Mr. Steven Anderson,
Yes.
and Mr. Ron Anderson.
Yes.
Passes
you.
5-0. I don't know what's going on, Loretta.
Let's see.
We see your
It
lips
shows
move,
you're
Loretta,
unmuted,
but
but we can't hear you.
yeah.
Let's see how your sign language is.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 5.3. This is where we have to discuss the purchasing of the furniture and equipment to go inside the facility at Skyview. Mr. DeGuid, do you want to mention anything on this before we get started?
Yeah, I'll get started. I'm gonna turn this over to Miss Whitney here. However, there has been some confusion in regards to the kitchen equipment for the purchase of this for the facility here. So we'll bring that back as a separate item. So I'm gonna request a withdrawal of that. And it changes our dollar amount to $93,275.76. And I can explain that in detail when we bring this back to where the confusion came from. Otherwise, I'm gonna turn this over to Miss Whitney. Did you get your audio working, Zena?
Yes, it's working now. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can.
We can.
Okay. I don't know where you want me to start, Colby, just because I know things have changed, so I don't know what details you want me to provide. So maybe it's more questions.
Kind of tables and chairs, and I think our logic behind everything and how we came to it all.
Okay. I'll start with the tables and chairs and carts. That's Mighty Light. It's a vendor that we currently use for our other facilities. Obviously, we've upgraded the chairs from the metal folding chairs to more of a banquet style chair, which would be much more comfortable for long-term events than our current metal folding chairs, and also has a better image. We do have after going some discussions with the vendor, we have a material that is actually a vinyl, but it has a linen almost feel to it. We will get some samples for those that you'll be able to see later on, but it's COVID friendly, I guess, or not friendly. Easy to be cleaned, and it actually has a antibacterial kind of coating on it, so it should stand up for cleaning and also help with keeping hopefully COVID and other germs and things like that away. We're going with a linen material first, but as COVID has progressed and as you know things have changed, we've changed that out. Total plan, that's what we're looking at for the office furniture. So it'll be office furniture very similar to what we currently have in our district office, just with, and that chair is not it, and that color is not it, just so you don't all panic. What was that?
That's not the correct one?
No, it's the correct chair style, but it's not that color that's displaying. I didn't want anybody to think we picked yellow.
So it's that chair.
Yes.
If you can bring that picture up again. It's actually, if you go to the next page on that, Colby.
It's this one?
Go one more. This is the brochure that they handled. Keep going. I think it's on the next page. Yeah, at the top there. Scroll down just a little bit. Nope, other direction.
Oh.
The other down.
Yeah. Next page at the very top. Back the other direction.
There must be a delay.
There could be.
Is the square back?
I believe it's no, one more down. Right though? Yeah, right there. If you can look, you're actually looking at, it'll be the last chair on the right.
The crown.
The one that says crown, correct.
That one, okay.
Oh, okay. That's nice looking.
Yeah. And it's bright
And
orange,
I believe
yellow, huh?
No, Debbie wouldn't let me pick yellow. I'm sorry.
What color are we going with?
We're going. It's called a black sand for the frame of the chair, and then it's a black, but it's kind of almost like a granite / slate colored black with the linen texture that it has. It's not like a pure black.
Do we feel that that's going to be the most how do I put it, versatile? I mean, like for weddings and things, are people going to want black chairs?
I think so. In a lot of groups, they actually will come in and through their linen service will do chair covers to match whatever color it is they have, whether it's teal or that yellow or whatever. So a lot of them bring in the chair covers themselves to cover up whatever chairs will be in there.
Go ahead, Zena.
And then the other item is the office furniture. As I said, it would be very similar to the colors that we have at the current office. The privacy screen that's in front of our desk would be a different color, just more in, and that'll be picked at a later date, more in conjunction with the colors of the facility there at Skyview. And that's the different carts. We've picked things that will save space in storage, just because storage is always a premium. So anything as far as a cart or a storage cart of any kind is in mind of keeping as little footprint as we can for each item. So there's our layout of our the office space over there. The reception area, I believe, is not on this picture. It just got cut off by the by Total Plan when they were working in the desks. The desks are pretty much the same. There's one that'll be for the coordinator, which is the room that's by itself at the end of there. And there'll be one second desk where if somebody's coming in to make a reservation for the event, they'll be able to sit down with the staff person go over their floor plan, or do they want a certain number of tables? Do they want a dance floor? Do they want a stage? That type of thing. Well, they'll be able to sit down away from the rest of the facility and have a conversation with the staff.
What's
And
the
that would be
square
like the,
footage of each one of those smaller cubicles?
they have, if you pull up the, I think it's on the quote there, Colby, I think it's back one page. Yeah, keep going.
This one?
It's that page, but it's my screen's not showing it yet, so it's at the top of the page that you're on. For reference point, 3 of the desks would be the same as our front reception desks at the current district office, and then the other 2 desks that are depicted in the drawing would be similar to Damien's desk and my desk that is currently at the office.
Okay.
Are we just filling, and I mean, I don't know, Ms. Whitney, if you can answer this question or if it's a question somebody else needs to answer, but I'm having trouble understanding why we would need that many cubicles.
They're not all cubic. Go ahead, Colby.
I would say part of this is preparing for ultimate build out as well. When we have more recreation classrooms and gymnasiums, we will have multiple staff working because of multiple programs going on at one time. And keeping it with desk rather than making it an area that can be cluttered. So it looks finished. Because if you remember, if we go down to this wall right here to the right is glass. So to have the workstations there will also make it look complete as well.
So people just be sitting there and people will be able to, staff will just be sitting there and people will be able to look in on them?
It's privacy screen still. It's coated glass.
The bottom
So
half
they won't
of
be
it
able
is frosted.
The bottom half is, the top half, yeah, they can look in. So if staff is, it'll keep them busy, keep them honest. How's that? Not behind a closed wall. There's a very open concept with the whole building that we have.
So
And
that
it also gives.
that goes, I'm sorry, Zena, the hallway that goes down there, essentially when people walk in and go down that hallway, the staff will have their backs to the people in the way that looks?
No,
Only at the one desk.
Ross, do you see my cursor?
Yeah.
That's the hallway. So they're facing.
Okay, so I'm looking at it the opposite.
They're facing. This is the desk. The computer monitor will be like in this corner, most likely, looking.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have their back to them.
And to go back to Miss Johnson's question, the glass for staff also lets them peer into the event center room itself because there's glass across the hall.
Gotcha.
And the other part of the office furniture is for the reception area. There's just 2 chairs.
Correct.
What color tables are we getting? I know sometimes that won't matter, but like the ones for like classes and things, those narrow tables, what color are those?
Those are all black as well.
Are they wood or some kind of composite?
They're an ABS.
ABS.
If you think back to your old dais at the board from the community center, that same.
Correct.
We're gonna have covers for them or not?
We have discussed we will have covers for our events, and then for like the banquet, not the banquet, but the conference style tables, we will have plans for that. You know, we would not be able to stock and keep enough colors for every different event that would go on.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah. For those, we would have some neutral colors, you know, white or some other, you know, off colors, not black.
And the ABS plastic is considered non-porous enough not to be an issue with cleaning with the COVID?
Correct. They have there's two options on the surface. There's one that's more of a textured and one that's a smooth. We would be going with the smooth top.
Okay.
And then another feature with these, I know you guys have had some experience with our tables at her community center. We have requested, and it's something that Mighty Light has done in the last few years, is they've developed an aluminum edge that's added to the tabletops. This will go on our circular, our 6-foot circulars and our rectangular ones, the bigger rectangulars. It's just an aluminum edge that they've added to protect the edges and corners.
So if you remember our current tables, they had a plastic band on them, that black plastic band that would start falling off, dings up, marks up walls and stuff. They've replaced that or upgraded that with this aluminum band around them.
Remind me what the color of the flooring is in the big room?
Very
It's
similar.
the same as this current office, correct? Yes.
Yes.
You mean carpet-wise?
Correct, carpet
Correct.
wise. The offices in the big room have carpet. The rest of the building is a commercial luxury vinyl tile.
Okay. So I guess I'm still not understanding. Why are we going with black chairs and black tables?
You're not going to see the black tables for the most part at a banquet or at a big event like that. They will be covered.
Right. And the chairs? Well, I don't think the chairs are always going to be covered. So I'm just curious why we're going with a black.
So when the chairs are, you're looking
go
at
ahead.
something. Sorry, Lizina, go ahead.
I was just saying we pick colors based on what's in the carpeting, and black is one of the colors, and there's other accent colors that will be pulled out with the paint on the walls and then the tile that Colby was referring to.
Our other options were lighter colors for the chairs, and we wanted something that would not show wear and tear or as easily.
Okay.
So for like a conference going on there, that they would have them out. An off-white linen or something would most likely be the choice, and that would show good contrast and then wear well.
I guess just what I'm thinking is in terms of someone who's coming there and thinking about holding, say, a wedding reception, and they don't want to go to they would prefer not to go to the expense of the chair covers, but their wedding is not black, it's pink. Is that?
I think the tablecloths would be their choice in color, and they would bring that in, and the tables are so much more bigger than the chairs that's gonna enhance their colors.
Temper the black.
Yeah, and
correct.
Well, but that if we were looking at the colors and we were looking at, say, a blue. If somebody had a pink wedding, we figured the black would go better than anything.
No, I wasn't thinking of a color. I was thinking more of, grays or whatever, but okay. I just wanted to understand.
Yeah. And part of it, we are limited somewhat to a color palette based on the materials that we're choosing. And
okay.
Yeah.
And then Colby, I don't know if you were including anything else that's on that list, or if we were just doing the tables and chairs and office furniture. So I wasn't sure with the adjustment.
Furniture. Let me go back up to the top. I believe what else is on there?
Aren't we still doing the ice thing and the coffee pot?
We're gonna be pulling those off at this point.
Okay.
And we'll bring them back. We're gonna relook at everything. Confusion with the office equipment, the kitchen equipment being supplied, and make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck on the equipment. We don't need to buy the Cadillac of equipment when we can get the Toyota Camry that's going to work just as well and last even longer. So we're going to be reevaluating that. These items right here we're talking about have a lot of, we're talking 8 to 10 weeks on lead times on these. That's where the kitchen equipment is 3 to 4 days until it ships.
Okay.
So
tonight we're just doing the tables, the chairs, and the office cubicles and equipment.
Yes, and in doing so, I didn't. My math is not right here, so I apologize. So we're Please go ahead and discuss while I do my math for you. And
what is this?
The thing that, go talk about the shipping as well that we got updated on Monday or Tuesday.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
shipping update that we got from Mighty Light?
Oh, actually, Mighty Light contacted me. We can save about another $1,500 on their bid. They were able to find a carrier that can deliver it for about $1,500 less off of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I just want to just kind of reaffirm here is we're purchasing the tables and chairs through a CMAS contract, which is the state of California public bid that they've done. So the tables and chairs are fixed. The only thing that would change would be the shipping rates and obviously the tax based on our county. And the same thing for the office furniture purchased under Riverside County Purchasing Agreement, which was the same thing for our district office.
So we're basically talking tonight now about the tables and chairs and carts and the office furniture. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Have we finished with that discussion?
I think so. I just want to say that make sure that when they put the sales tax in there, that it's the Jurupa Valley rate, not the Riverside rate.
And that's for one
possible in Riverside.
I believe they have, but I will double check.
I have
Okay.
another question that goes back to the comment on these AB 1600 fees. Now, is this $102,000 or $75,000 what we've modified to? Is that was that figured in on the original $3.5 million?
No,
Is this in addition to?
this is an addition to. That was not part of the construction of the project.
Okay.
And what was the adjusted amount again we're authorizing tonight, Colby?
$85,920.87. And that would be a not to exceed. It's actually about $1,500 less than that, based on the shipping.
Okay. So are we ready for a motion then?
I am.
I am.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Board of Directors authorize the purchase of office furniture and event room furniture for the Skyview Event Center in the amount of top off at $85,920.07.
87 cents.
Oh, 87 cents, excuse me.
Okay. We have a second?
I will go ahead and second that.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I'll do roll call for you.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Yes, please.
Miss Brenda Gunder.
Yes.
Miss Kim Drell Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Ross Leisure.
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Ron Anderson.
Aye.
You can use this.
All right, item passes 5-0.
Okay, let's get back to,
Shadow Rock purchase.
oops, the wrong one here.
5.4.
5.4.
Discussion of park security.
Discussion of park security. Mr. DeGuid, what do you?
Yes, this was an item that Director Johnson requested we bring forward and have a discussion on here. It's primarily in regards to Avalon Park. But due to recent vandalism at the community center and honestly now Horseshoe Lake and Skyview, Ranch Rupert Sports Park, I'd like the board to consider some additional items going forward. I'll turn this over to Ms. Johnson since it was her request.
I just feel that given Avalon Park's kind of isolated situation, the fact that it has 2 parking lots, and based on my observations of just people park there that don't seem to be taking advantage of the park. Cars parked there with tinted windows. You can't even see if anybody's in it. Cars parked there with nobody inside of them. It makes no sense, because who parks their car at Avalon and just walks away and doesn't take advantage of the park? Drug deals I've personally observed going on there. I feel that we need to gate off those parking lots so that they can be gated off when they need to be. Probably keep the lower parking lot gated at all times, unless it's, we have an event there that it's needed, and the upper parking lot gated as best we can, given whatever rules and regulations we have to follow. And that's why I brought that up. And I would appreciate the board's input and discussion about whether we go forward with doing something like asking staff to, get us a bid and see what it would cost to do. Mr. DeGuid, did you want me to bring up anything about the rest of it, or are you going to take it from there?
Ms. Linder has a question.
Okay.
I was gonna say, because you were saying about the break-ins and stuff there, because I rode by there myself and I've seen some things, and I know like a lot of people, they go and like I said, they just park there. What about with the police officers going through there periodically and seeing what's going on? Because it's actually a park, and isn't that just cutting off everybody? It's a public park, so isn't that cutting off everybody else because of that? Just in case other people might want to come. Because it's just saying like,
right. The lower parking lot to me is probably one that could be gated most of the time. The upper parking lot we can leave open during the day. I don't have a problem with that. I think the problem is that we can ask the police / sheriff's department all we want, but we don't have any control over what they do or what they want to do. Their contract is with the city. They have their own elected sheriff who has his own priorities for them, and there's no way we can, other than politely ask, there's no way we can get them to make any kind of regular route through the Avalon parking lots. And I think that we have to take matters in our own hands and do what we need to do.
There is one way, but that's very costly, and that's to hire our own deputy. And that's going to cost at least $250,000 a year.
Right. Exactly.
330,000 now.
Pardon?
It's 330,000 now.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
I don't think we're going to be doing that.
I'm sorry, you're only talking about having the gate closed when the park hours say the park is closed, correct?
Well, the lower one I think could be closed most of the time.
But as far as the upper one goes, I mean, we do have hours on our parks. So
Right.
the gate would be open regardless of what happens in the upper parking lot. The gate would have to be open during normal park hours.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I don't know that it has to be open during normal park hours. I mean, but I'm not saying I'm against it being open, but we could at least take care of half the problem.
So if the park hours, isn't it sun up and sundown?
No, it's it's 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. currently.
Isn't 10 p.m. too late? Because most parks, once the sun go down, everybody should be out of the park by then. So if you were to do that, maybe close the parking lot off at that point, it would.
We have a lot of evening activities in the wintertime that require lights and stuff that are on until 10 o'clock.
I think this is something that we can have further discussion on, should the board choose to. If you remember a couple years ago, this was brought forward and the board chose to keep the hours till 10 p.m. at all parks. One thing we had discussed upon were closing it at dusk unless there was a permitted activity going on there.
Yes.
Such as our youth basketball program or a field reservation or something like that. The isolation of Avalon Park with no houses anywhere near it, really. There's not eyes on it per se a lot. That if something's going wrong, that they could call in sheriffs to report it. A similar situation was created at the Jurupa Community Center. The skate park's in a great location, in my opinion, but one of the downfalls of how it is set up is the skate park blocks activity in the parking lot after hours. We have a lot of vandalism that goes on there. I think that's a location that needs to be looked at for adding gates to the park for after hours, as well as Mills Park. Similar situations. Middle of the night, people don't need to be in our facilities, and anything that we can do to keep the honest person honest, I think is something we need to look at.
Well, I know too, because there's a lot of businesses in that area. A lot of those guys go over there and have lunch, when they just want a little quiet time. So that'll be taken away from them also.
Well, we're not talking about daytime use, I don't think.
Well, that's what I was saying. If you close it,
parks have to be open during the day. That's the whole purpose of them.
yeah, that's why I said if we close it, once the sun go down and then you close the park off, then that should omit the activities unless you have something special going on.
Well, I think we may be misinterpreting the suggestion here as to how we handle the situation. I think we should have not unlike Solar Park. We have a big gate. We close it at 10 o'clock. You don't get in. You don't get in to use the parking lot.
Right. We're talking about the ability to lock off the parking lots, and park hours would be a future board discussion action item, I think. Correct, Colby?
Correct.
We would have to bring that up at a different time, and if we want to talk about the hours. But I agree with having the ability to lock off the parking lots when it's necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Right. That's really what I'm going for right now. I mean, I do want to point out Avalon is not fenced off. Even if we close both gates, people could walk into the park if they wanted to, but I'm not saying that's what we should be doing. But also, if we close off the lower parking lot so that people use the upper parking lot, and you have perfectly honest people having their lunch there and stuff, that in and of itself is going to help with the parking lot situation.
I agree.
So I think that, that's also part of what, could be helpful there is the more people you have in that upper parking lot, the better.
And I should add to our discussion, based on the discussions we've had in regards to the homeless out there at Avalon over the past couple weeks, the city is posting no parking signs along Avalon on both sides of the street from the driveway towards 24th Street and both sides of 24th Street from Avalon to Rubidoux Boulevard. After hours, from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. type of a situation.
Oh, okay.
So they'll park there during the day, but not overnight.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
What about cameras and stuff?
We have cameras at Avalon. They have definitely deterred our graffiti at that facility. But it's a camera doesn't deter somebody from parking overnight there or some of the other activities that have been going on.
No, but if you limit the parking down below to just times when it's needed, you might get some decent coverage of the cameras in the parking lot up in the top side, whether there's daytime, evening, or what, and that can help to be a deterrent.
Yes. And I do think that the cameras up above do show the parking lot, but we don't have any cameras on the lower parking lot.
I don't think we need to have a nuisance attraction open unnecessarily. If that parking lot isn't needed during the day because of lack of facility use, there's no reason keeping it open and just being an attraction.
Mr. DeGuid, what kind of, are we just providing you with guidance tonight, or do you need a motion of some sort?
Just provide guidance. Do you want, is this something the board wants to see a price to add gates to Avalon? And do you want us to get them for other facilities? Just get quotes and estimates at the same time?
Well, what other facilities were you bringing up? You said you had additional facilities you want to discuss. I know you mentioned the skate park. Was there any others?
I think the community center is one that we need to look at closing up at the end of the night after the skate park closes. There's no reason for people to remain in that parking lot. If all of our facilities are closed, they should go home. If there was a reservation at the community center that went till later in the evening, when that reservation was gone, staff would lock it up when they left, obviously. And Knowles Park is another one. That's the only other park with a parking lot that does not currently get locked, other than Memorial.
Well, it doesn't cost us anything, or at least very little. Probably most of the expense would be staff time. In seeing what we could do at all the facilities that would help prevent vandalism and inappropriate use of the facilities. So I think we ought to make a general project out of looking into the security of all of our facilities, particularly ones that are not around communities like our small pocket parks and stuff.
Okay, perfect. I have what I need.
agree.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I agree.
That's fine.
Okay.
We can work on this and bring it back. It's not going to happen overnight, but it'll be something we can work on over the next couple months here.
Right.
And since we are talking about park security, would it be wrong for me to bring up at this time? The committee already one time went over cameras in parks, and we approved to have so many parks done in so much time. Where are we along for that?
So what the committee did was prioritize facilities that we would add cameras to. In our budget, we have money for one park this year, and I'm currently getting the estimates together for that to bring to the board for approval. My recommendation is Knowles Field, based on incidents that have gone on there over the past couple of months. The next two priorities, in no particular order, were Clay and Glen Avon.
Okay, so we are still on track for working through those.
Correct.
Okay.
Can we make cameras and whatever other necessary security facilities we deem necessary as part of our CFD proposals to the developers?
That's one thing that we're building into them, that we're having them install them as part of the, Shadow Rock will have cameras installed as part of the development.
That's good.
Okay, you have your marching orders?
I understand what we're doing.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's move on to 5.5. This is the discussion of the employment agreement with Mr. DeGuid. Everybody had a copy of that and a chance to review it past week, and also during our discussion in the closed session. Is there any other discussion people like to have?
Since there doesn't seem to be any discussion, I will go ahead and move the board of directors approve the employment agreement with Colby DeGuid for the position of general manager for 3 years.
So actually, we have a date through.
Oh, that's right.
32 months, isn't it?
Correct.
I just thought the date ought to be in the motion. What was the date again? So that would be June.
2023.
I'm sorry?
June 30th, 2023.
Okay, so I will move the board of directors approve the employment agreement with Colby DeGuid for the position of general manager through June 30th, 2023.
We have a motion, may I have a second?
I
Oh,
second.
Okay, go ahead, Brenda. You got it.
Okay, we have a motion
All
and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please, Loretta or Colby.
Actually,
You're being a bad echo.
I think we ought to start looking into proper audio visual equipment for Loretta.
Now try it, Loretta. Okay. Miss Brenda Gunder,
Yes.
Miss Kim Drell Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ross Lasia,
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Ron Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's see, here we go. Guess we move on to general manager's report. You have anything left you need to report on?
I have some very good news to share with the board. We received notification yesterday from the state of California that our check is in the mail.
Yay.
So at this point, there appears to be no need to do our loan we had worked on. It will be going out today, and we should be receiving it tomorrow or Monday at the latest. That was very good news to hear. Appreciate the staff working so diligently at the state to get that process for us from the Office of Grants and Local Services. So that was very good news to hear. Earlier this evening, we approved the authorizing legislation for Prop 68. That's our per capita funds that we were awarded. I sat through the mandated seminar yesterday in regards to those funds and what we can and can't use it for, what our matching requirements would and would not be. So I think a discussion from the board as to potential projects that we use the roughly $275,000 towards is something we should start looking at here, because we need to have it expended by the end of 2024. While it seems pretty far away, it's going to come very quickly for us. And I think we definitely need to solicit the public's input for that. $275,000 not going to build a park, let alone a playground. But there are some things that we can look at funding and being able to supplement from the through district funds right now is benefit facilities we have within the district.
Can you use it to supplement recreational programs?
No, it's for one-time capital purchases.
Okay.
Yeah, so a new playground, exercise equipment, towards a larger construction project that doesn't have other state funds associated with it, things along those lines.
Okay.
In regards to Horseshoe Lake, I'll keep it brief because I know we're running a little longer than normal. I don't want to talk any more than needed. The contractor is hoping to be done on site with their construction prior to the Veterans Day holiday. The park will remain closed and fenced off through the end of the year to allow the grass to establish. Having a unique problem with one of the plant materials that was chosen. We don't know exactly what's causing it, what's doing it, but there's some animal coming in at night and eating it. And the contractors basically said, we're not going to replace any more of it. Give us an alternate material, something that we already have on site that they're not eating anymore. So it wasn't a very big area, so we're going to replace that material with another product we were already using on site. I thought it was kind of humorous. We got something eating our plants. What are we going to do? There was some vandalism done to the shade structure over the playground. Somebody cut a small slit in it, but it is under contractor's responsibility right now, so that will be getting replaced, which is good news to hear. But the project is moving along. The grass is not establishing quite as quickly as we had hoped, so they're going to be coming in and doing a second application of the hydro seed in some of the areas that aren't taking off as quickly as we wanted to. But the park is looking very good. The last of the concrete was poured yesterday. There's a couple little touch-up spots they still have to do, but for the most part, we're wrapping up the project right now, which is great news. The other one being Skyview Event Center. We have scaffolding starting to come down now, paint being applied to the exterior of the building. A good chunk of the interior of the building is now completed with paint. Restrooms should be finished early next week with the tile. Kitchen, I believe, got epoxy floored yesterday, and the kitchen equipment will be going in. Sinks and stuff will be going in next week. Windows are currently, the aluminum framing's going in right now. Once all that's done, the doors will be going in. So we're starting to see a completed interior of the building minus flooring. So that'll be the last thing to go in. And then the exterior of the building should be completed in the next about week and a half or so. Trees and landscaping in the parking lot are going in. And then the last of the hardscape and trails will be going in over the next couple of weeks here. Really hoping for a completion in early December of 2020, which is very exciting. The unfortunate news, as you guys are aware, Tuesday, Riverside County was rolled back to the purple. So when we're going to be able to open the community center and or Horseshoe Lake is kind of at the unknown. We'll be able to open Horseshoe Lake once it's established, but I think we're going to be looking at virtual openings right now for Horseshoe Lake Park, so we can allow the residents to use it without having large gatherings at the facility. What will happen with Skyview and when we'll actually open to the public is not known at this point. And we're waiting on our guidance from the state, but we will play that one by ear. The next park that will start construction will be Sage Point Park, which should begin in the next about 30 days, which that's the one down there off of Jurupa Road. So we're moving along in that aspect. There is a lot of developers that are contacting the district right now regarding various development projects, so that's nice to see. Not just commercial, industrial buildings, but also a number of different groups doing their due diligence for home development as well. So that is very positive to see. And with that, I'll conclude my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. DeGuid.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting recreation short. I need to not do that. We do have our drive-through trick-or-treat event next Thursday, the 30th. We have 300 vehicles that have RSVP'd their spot, essentially. And staff is preparing about 1,000 individual bags to be socially distanced and given out to those participants. We have participation from the AYSO that plays there at Ranch Rupa Sports Park that will be participating. The Rupa Lions Club, I believe, is going to participate, as well as Miraloma Smiles, Uncle Dennis office, that will be participating in the event as well, to help make it a fun, festive, non-contact event with our participants. Nobody will be allowed to exit vehicles or anything like that. Drive-through only type of event. So hopefully this will be a one and done type of event, but staff's doing a great job putting it together. And then the other event that we put together will be what's our Shoebox Veterans Day Parade, in which asking individuals, groups, organizations, families to decorate a shoebox, and they'll bring it into the district office. We will pull it across a route, videotape it, and put it together as a Veterans Day virtual parade to honor our veterans. It was a unique event. I think we're getting some good participation from different agencies and groups in the area, so it should be fun. That'll be released on social media and our website on Veterans Day, November 11th. And then with that, I'll go ahead and conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. DeGuid. Ms. Johnson, do you have anything you'd like to discuss further?
No, I don't. Not tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Gunder?
No.
Stephen Anderson?
Yes. Vernola Park in Division 3 currently has an annual debt of about $200,000 per year. I'm wondering if the money coming from the apartments south of Limonite would be enough to take care of Vernola's debt. The apartments are in the Vernola redevelopment project area. However, they will bring in $135,000, leaving $65,000 per annum for the Vernola CFD. Knowing what I know about your taking CFD funds from that area, I will not be happy about making this debt up. Whether the people in CFD 2004 will be happy about that remains to be seen. And I wrote this out, Loretta, so I hope you get it straight. And I read it. Okay?
I'm sorry. I feel need to go on the record. That is not correct information as being shared. Thank you.
I agree.
Please get the information out that is correct.
It's available in your book, Mr. Anderson.
I've talked about this several times.
Well, And I do feel I need to go on the record that I didn't appreciate the dig at Ms. Voges. I think that she does a fantastic job. And this idea that she can't get something straight, if she can't get something straight, it's because what's being said is difficult to understand, not because she can't
Get
get
enough
something.
word salads out of her that I know what I'm doing, okay? There's a reason why I don't give closing comments. Are you still there?
We're all here, Mr. Anderson.
You got the
You're all-
floor. You've got the floor.
Okay, I'm through.
Thank you. Mr. Leisure,
I just have one quick question. Are you gonna need any board participation in the Halloween event, or have you guys got it all covered?
We're trying to limit as much as possible right now. If you'd like to show up and stand in a corner and wave, that'd be great. But we're just trying to keep our social distancing numbers at a minimum.
Understood. Other than that, I have nothing to add.
yeah, I have nothing else either. I think it was a productive meeting. Thank all of you for your participation, and look forward to the evaluation sheets on Mr. DeGuid, and also any future comments you have on Shadow Rock. So with that, do we have any
What was the vote?
meetings you wanted, any committee meetings you need, Mr. DeGuid?
Not at this point, no.
No. Nothing else there? Okay. Any particular agenda items anybody wants to see? Well, hearing none, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:30 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.